All right, today we're just going to combine some skills that we've used in the past. We're going to look at inequalities and now graphing linear equations. But now instead of linear equations, we have linear inequalities. We're going to merge those two together. Before we get started, I need you to write down some information. This is going to be critical. So you need to write this probably in a place and remember, mark it somehow. So let's get to it. When you have the less than sign like this, you will use a dotted line. Okay. All less thans will be shaded below the line. Now, if I have a less than or equal to, that is a solid line. And what that means is when you have a solid line, that means any point on the line will solve the inequality. Whereas with the dotted line, the points that are on the line will not be a solution, but in the case of less than, these are both shaded below the line. Anything below the line in the shaded area will be a solution. So this will be shaded below. Now, let's get to our greater thans. And the same pattern, I'm going to do these up here. If I have greater than like this, that is a dotted line. Dotted or dashed. If I have a greater than or equal to, this is a solid line. And both of these are shaded above. And I think as we look at some examples, you'll find that it'll become a little clearer. So now to get back to some of the things that we have done in the past, finding the slope and the y-intercept. Our slope, remember, that's the coefficient of x. So we can see here it's 2. Our y-intercept, the b, is 3. Now, we're going to look at the type of inequality. And we see here that the inequality is a less than. So it doesn't have the equal sign underneath. So what we're going to do is we are going to make that a dotted line, and since it's less than, we can see up here that will be shade below. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to let me get this back into the viewing area for you. So I'm going to start at my B, begin at the beginning point, which is B. Notice B, B, B. So I'm going to find 3 on the y-axis. I'm going to put it right there. Now my slope is 2, which means I will go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And I can also go this way. If you see the pattern, you can just follow the pattern, just like that. And then what we can do is now we're going to insert a dotted line. So when I do this, I'm putting in a dotted line like this. Now, when it says shade below, what I'm doing is I'm looking at this point on the y-axis. I need to find what is below that, and that's this way. So what I'm going to do is I am going to shade in the area below, and that could be this whole thing here. And I'm going to try to use this red color for a shade below and a blue color for shade above. So you can see. So anything that's in the purple or this reddish color will solve or will be a solution to this inequality. However, these points that I've actually put down, those points do not work to make this statement true. So if you would, take just a moment and pause the video, name any point that's in here, plug in your x and y values, and you should find that that it comes out true. All right, let's look at since we're right here, let's look at number 3. So I'm not scrolling up and down. We'll get to 2 in a moment. If you look at number 3, first we're going to find the slope and the y-intercept. Now we look here, the y-intercept is right there. It's -8. The slope is this point right, or this number right here that x is multiplied by. It's 1/2. So what I would do is I would start at this point and make this my slope. But let's look at this. This is a greater than, so it's a greater than or equal to. Notice it has the or equal to sign right there. So that means that this will be a solid line. And since it's greater than, it's shaded above. So I'm going to go to -8, and since I know I'm going to be shading above, let's go ahead and do a blue. I'm going to go to -8. Now I can take that 1/2, and that tells me I go up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. I even do this, down 1 over 2 this way. And I'm going to draw a solid line, which means that even a point that's right on that line will work, as well as we're shading above because it's greater than. So anything up here, and you can find any point in this blue area, and sorry my shading is a little rough, but there you go. Anything in that blue area, you could pick any point. I could pick, if I wanted to, I could come over here and I could pick -3, 2. If I wanted to pick -3, 2, I could rewrite this. The 2 is the y value, is greater than 1/2 times -3 minus 8. And when I work this out, I would find that indeed 2 is greater than -9.5. And that's true. 2 is greater than -9.5. I could do that for any point. I could pick anywhere in that blue section, or I could pick anywhere on that line, or one of those points, and it would work. All right, let's go to number 2. Part it right there. Oh, let's go down just a little bit. And a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so let's look and see what kind of inequality we have. There we go. And then we're going to find our slope. Now look at this. Our slope is whatever's the number in front of x that x is multiplied by. That is the coefficient of x. -4. Our y-intercept is this part right here. It's a +1. Now let's look at this. This inequality does not have an equal sign underneath of it. If it did, we would have a solid line. Since it does not, this is a dotted line. dotted line. Since it's greater than, it's going to be shaded above. So, since we're shading above and it's a greater than, I'm going to use the blue. So I'm going to start at 1. That's always our beginning point. And then it tells us, now this is -4, so I'm going to make this a fraction. We can always just put it over 1. So that means I need to go down 4 and over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And then we can follow our pattern this way. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Now, this is a dotted line. So, it means that the points on the line and the points that we've drawn do not work. They will not be a good solution. Now, hopefully what you're doing is you're using a ruler to draw this, and it's going to be shaded above. Now, it gets a little dicey when you've got a line that's a lot like this, but let's look at the point on the y-axis. It's right there. So we need to go above. So that means this part, because we're on this side of the line, and we're going to shade it in like that. So anywhere in that blue section will work, but what is on the line will not. All right, let's go over to number 4 right now. We're going to put that right there. We're going to look at our slope and our y-intercept. Our slope, remember, it's the coefficient of x, -1 over 4. Our y-intercept is a +5. We don't need to write the plus sign. This is a less than, does not have the equal sign, so it's going to be a dotted line. Since it's less than, it's going to be shaded below the line. Below the line. Oh, I wrote B. I should have written 5. There we go. 5. So I'm going to go to 5. And since we're doing below, I'm going to use a red pen. I'm going to put my first point, I'm going to begin at the B, which is 5. And then it's -1, so I'm going to go, or -1/4, so I'm going to go down 1, right 4. Down 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can continue my pattern the other way, except I'm going to go up 1, left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've got to put in a dotted line or a dashed line. Put in my arrows, because we know the world doesn't end at the end of the map right there. And then we're going to shade below. So I'm going to look. I've got my point right there. This is very easy to see. What is below that point is this right here. So anywhere in the shaded area will work, up to but not including the line, because the dashed line tells me that points on the line don't work. Points on the line don't work. If it's solid, they work. If it's dashed, it has to be only the shaded area. All right, let's move on to our next one here. One more example to show you. Now this is y equals, I think we have 2 more though. Let me just check to make sure. Yes, 2 more of those to work through. Tell you what we'll do is I'll show you the M, the B, the line, and the shade, and then I want you to go ahead and fill these in. So our M course, if we don't see the coefficient must be 1. Our y-intercept, the beginning point, is 2. This has the equal sign under the inequality, which means that it's going to be a solid, and since it's greater than, where it's shading above. All right, so I'm going to ask you to fill in the graph on your own. Fill in the graph on your own. And don't be surprised if that ends up being a quiz that you have to reproduce your filling in the graph. All right. Now, let's look at number 6. Number 6, there is no slope, so our slope is 0. When you do not see an x, you have a y but no x. The slope is 0. The y-intercept is -4. Now, this is less than, but it does not have the equal sign, so it's going to be dotted. And less than means shade below. All right. So when we go to do this, we begin. We begin at -4, right there, and then this whole line, -4, is just going to become a dotted line like this. Since there is no slope, we don't go up any, so it looks like that. And then we will shade below, so I find my point. What is below? It's down here. So there we go. Shading below. All right, now we end up sometimes having a graph and needing to write the inequality. So let's look at this. Let me move that part so that we can see a little bit better here. All right, so the easiest thing to find is the b part. So I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to find b. That's -5, -6, -7, -8, -9. So it's -9. The slope, all right, I'm going to find where it goes through exactly the corner of 2 points. Here's a good point right there, and then here's a good point. Now I can tell by looking at this, as it starts from left to right, it's going down, so my slope will be negative. And I see it goes down 1, so that's -1, and over 2. So that would be -1 over 2. I already know that my slope is negative, so 1 over 2. Now let's look at the line. The line is solid. The line is solid, and it's shaded below. All right, so shading below means that it's a less than symbol, and if you have a hard time remembering this, remember left hand less than. Hold your left hand up with the back of your hand facing you, your fingers together and your thumbs slightly apart, and see what shape it makes, and it'll make this kind of shape. So the solid line means we have to add the equal sign underneath. And then we simply fill in y, the -1/2 x, and then -9. Now, this is a good time to talk. If you remember, the y equals mx plus b. If you remember y equals mx plus b, the only thing different here is that we're not using an equal sign. We're using an inequality. So this is a y is less than or equal to -1/2 x minus 9. Let's look at number 8. So Sometimes it's easier to just pick on the easiest stuff to look at. So let's start with the type of line and the shading. Well, this is obviously a dotted line. And it's shaded above. If we start with that, then we know dotted means it does not have the equal sign. Above means it's greater than. So I'm going to go ahead and write that. And I'm done. Now I look, where is my y-intercept? It's right at -5. Now I find my slope. So that's a good point to use. I'm going to look, where does it go? Right through the corner of a box. Actually looks like this right here. This right here. It's pretty close at the one just to the left, but not quite there. So now it's a positive slope. We can tell it's going up. So we're going to go up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means up 1 over 4. Now I just fill this in. Y is greater than 1/4 x minus 5. Let's try a few more here. All right. So we're going to do the two that are on the screen right now, 9 and 11. All right. The line is solid. Then I look at the y-axis. I look at my y value, and is the shading above or below that? Well, here's where it crosses, and the shading is above. So above. So what that means is it's going to be above means greater than. The solid means we include the line. So we're just going to, if you want to think, it shows the line, so the line counts. So you can put that there. Now we can already go ahead and put in our y and our x. So now all we have to do is fill in this space and this space. So let's fill in. It crosses at right here at 3 on the y-axis. So I'm going to put in plus 3. That's my b value. My slope. Well, here's another point. It looks like it goes up 2 over 1. 2 over 1. Now that reduces to a positive 2. Our slope is 2. That now becomes the coefficient of x. All right. Look at number 11. Number 11. It's very easy to see. This is a solid line. Well, look at this point on the y-axis. It's shaded above that point, so above. So our inequality is exactly the same as it was over here in number 9. It is a greater than because it's shaded above. Solid means we include the line, so let's put the line there. Okay, and we can put in our y, leave a space in front of x, and let's look, our b value. So where does it cross? That's -5, -6, -7. The b value is -7. So I can put that after the x. I'm going to find 2 points. It's always handy if it crosses right there to use it. Look at this. So we can tell from our slope it's going down that it's going to have to be negative. It's going to have to be negative. So it goes down 1 over 1. Which comes out to -1. So that's -1. Now we could write -1 right here, but all we have to do is write the negative sign. The 1 is understood. All right, a little too far. All right, so let's look at number 10 and 12. So, these are two unique cases, but let's look at the line. It's dotted and shaded below. So we know that this is going to be a less than since it's below. We do not include the equal sign. We're going to use the y, but remember, when it's a straight horizontal line, there is no x. So this is actually a 0, which means we do not include it. It crosses the y-axis at -6. So this one, all I have to put, I don't have to put in my x. Y is less than -6. Now, the interesting thing about number 12 is that it is not a true function. It's not a true function because it has this vertical line. Whenever you see a vertical line, I want you to go ahead and put x. It's x. Now, this is not shaded above or below, so we can't use what we've done before. What we have to do is we just have to look at the x-axis, all right, our x-axis as a regular number line, and that's -1, 2, 3, -4. So I'm going to put -4 over here, all right, and then we're going to look. Is the shaded area, are the x's less than this point or greater than? Well, it's less than. So it looks like that. And it's a dotted line, so we are not going to put our equal sign underneath. That is kind of a unique situation. All right. So that concludes. I think you should remember those things that we wrote at the top of the page for your notes. The less than, greater than, solid line, dotted line.